What's going on with everyone? Here at Blockchain Backer, we bring you the newest news and information about cryptocurrencies. The price of Bitcoin is $110,000 right now, so we'll look at this picture. Furthermore, Friday, August 29th will mark the last trading day for the U.S. stock market in August. This will show whether the Dow Jones Industrial Average will end the month at an all-time high and the Russell 2000 will have confirmed its breakout of the last retracement level. If you switch to the monthly time frame, you can see that this Russell would have broken through the 702 and 786 levels in August. That being said, let's see if we can end this. Today, we'll have information about inflation. We'll check back in the morning to see how that changes the numbers. You would basically need the Russell to drop about 3 to 4% in order for it to lose that much. That would have to happen in just one day. So, I don't think so. It looks like that's what will happen with the stock market today, along with the altcoin market and the Russell 2000 trying to break through that all-time high from 2021. That is, of course, the most important thing going on in this part of the Bitcoin market. Most likely, we won't be coming back up here a third time to not be able to get through. But there can be trouble up there, and that's when the crowd usually comes back in droves. But first, we need to be able to get out of there. If you watched markets in the morning on Wednesday, we talked about how Ethereum was in a dumb money zone during our live show. What people think will happen is that if this is a running flat that's happening at the all-time high for Ethereum, it will move to the lows through the weekend. We most likely won't see much from Ethereum. Even if it goes down to a new low in the 4200s or just waddles in, it's probably going to wait until September. That sounds like a long time away, but September is only 3 days away. That doesn't mean it will be September worse, but you get the idea. September starts in 3 days. As a thought, this one for Ethereum, which is flat and trying to break through the high point here at $4,900. Remember that Bitcoin had a running flat when it got back to its peak in 2020? It did this so it could break out and start real growth. So this kind of price action doesn't happen very often, and what we see a lot of the time, there is a range of these things before the real weight is taken off the shoulders. And if you remember from Bitcoin back in October in 2023, we always said that once we got above $32,000, it would be like the market weight was taken off your shoulders. If that happened here for Ethereum, it would be the same, since that's also where the altcoin market is. It's at its highest point ever since 2021. And of course, if we could break through here, the market would be lighter for everyone, right? We're pretty much just one step away from getting that. But, of course, we're also at the most difficult point in the history of the Bitcoin market, the all-time high in 2021. That's why we're biting our nails so hard as we try to get through this and see if we might get another surprise, right? With the market prices and the fact that rates are going to go down on September 17th, we have a pretty good story to go on. Since December until August, the 2-month yield has been stuck in this range. This is the range that has been most successful at predicting what the Fed will do. From what we can tell, the Fed is finally going to cut rates at their next meeting. But will we get some kind of event to happen, like Elon Musk or Tesla adding Bitcoin to their books, like what happened in 2021? This is what will really get people excited and interested in coming back to the market. We're lucky to be right on that edge, right? It looks like the U.S. stock market is on our side. These are always things that are needed. Putting this all together for my paper has taken me all week. These things are very important, and we have them so far. It is, of course, very important to see that Bitcoin's power is waning, which means that the altcoin market is entering a similar state. But before we start this 3-day weekend, we're going to sit here. The Bitcoin market is at its highest point ever since 2021. The Russell 2000 is getting close to its all-time high from 2021. If I had to compare this market to anything, it would be like being at the all-time high for Bitcoin in late 2020 while everyone is still biting their nails. It's like we need the last break to happen at the same time in macro markets, or, at the very least, Brett needs to open with, at least the Russell 2000 taking part in a cycle top. I don't see anything too interesting on the XRP price picture. It's exciting here. And I think a lot of this will depend on what Bitcoin does next, like whether it just finds support on top of the previous high for a parabolic push, or whether this is more of a decline for Bitcoin. Let's wait for the answer to come in right now to see if we just saw the weakest parabolic push for Bitcoin ever, or if this is an expanded flat ABC correction that's just trying the previous high. We need to see this answer in the next few days or weeks, most likely days. Those days will likely tell us if this is just a fourth wave that is a normal crash backtrack reaccumulation. As you know, the usual order is for the price to crash, then retreat back to retracement levels, reaccumulate, and then break out. In 2020 and early 2021, we saw that this was a crash, retreat, and reaccumulation that went on for a while. It's possible that this is a scarier setup that just swept the highs, Bitcoin topped, everything is doomed, and XRP went with it. All of us were fooled into thinking that the case was over when in fact it was just beginning to retrace its steps. This caused a lot of happiness and energy, but that was the end of it. That's not my main case, right? I look at the rest of the market and see these conditions taking place here. I also see the Russell. It's very unlikely that you'll get this, and this market isn't going to go. 2000 and the altcoin market are in the middle of a big fight. I can't think of a time in my life when I saw a chart go through a crash, a retrace, a reaccumulation, and then back to the all-time high without the market moving and breaking out. Of course, we still need to get that for that to happen for the market. Actually, this is just a crash, retreat, and reaccumulation that could be a wave 4 happening here, as you can see all the way through. But right now, with Bitcoin, where it is, I can't tell from this XRP price picture that anything is ramping up or getting stronger. It looks like you need this more than anything else for this chart to work. Of course, that goes against a lot of the stories that are out there. It's very much against the partnerships, the thousands of price goals, the conspiracies, and all that other stuff. I only use facts to guide me. When things happen, money moves. Where are we now? We need the Russell 2000 to get away very badly. For us to get away, we need the altcoin market, and that it will be very good for the XRP price chart to just go ahead and tear to the outside. But until then, we're waiting for this to clear up and find out if this is just an expanded flat or if we're already past the top. This is a recovery play if we're already past the top. If not, things are going to get very exciting soon. From what I can tell, we're probably looking forward to a very exciting time because of what's going on with the Russell and Ethereum. It makes sense that we'd have a few days to relax here before September, when we'll be waiting for another surprise to hit the market. Right now, things are looking good, but we need another surprise to happen, right? You have almost all the stories that buyers and small companies could want to start feeling better. When I think back to 2021, even when Bitcoin broke out from its all-time high of $20,000 and went up to around $35,000, $37,000. It then settled in that range. There was still a lot of fear that the cycle was over. That's what I mean right here. Before the Elon Musk story, there was just one thing that set the market off on a wild ride. And that's what brought the shoppers in at the very end. Yes, there is no shopping here at all. It's something I remember very well. The crowd was still very tense and worried when we got back to the all-time high. The crowd didn't start coming in, though, until the record high was broken. After Elon Musk came in, a lot more people came in. So, right now, things are going well in the macro markets, but we're still waiting for that final break on things like Ethereum. As you can see here, there are all the structure setups that you would want to see here. But that is also a result of the whole altcoin market, which is a result of the Russell 2000. To make a long story short, this is a very important moment for Bitcoin as we head into the holiday weekend. People are telling us the stories we want to hear about, things like rate cuts, and right now is also the most important time for the Russell 2000 to break out. Once you get this break, the market will be ready to go. I think we'll get it in the end, but for now, we just have to wait. And it feels like biting your nails. Right now is the time of high worry. It's right there. It's not out. The circumstances are good. They're getting ready. The Russells are going